next speaker is from Anfield Energy. It's the CEO of Anfield Energy. It's a U.S. Emerging production company in Utah and Wyoming, and it's Corey Diaz.
Thanks, everyone. I'm sure everybody understands this slide. It's the usual propaganda we have to put in every presentation, so feel free to read at your leisure. So Anfield, as mentioned, is a company with the vast majority of its assets in the United States. We have been picking up assets on the cheap given the price of uranium over the past few years. We've done 2 transactions with Uranium One. We've also completed a transaction with Cotter Corporation. I'll go into the assets that we've acquired, but essentially what we're trying to do is create a near-term production story. We've got 2 opportunities, 2 production hubs that we're looking to create. One in the lower cost ISR space, and one in the larger scale, higher cost conventional space. This slide kind of gives you an overview as to why we think it makes sense for investors to look at Anfield as an investment opportunity. We have assets in the United States, which is a great place in which to operate. We have multiple deposits amenable to ISR in Wyoming. We've got access to existing processing infrastructure, both through one of our own mills and a Uranium One processing plant. Low permitting risks. The assets that we picked up along the way already have been permitted and licensed. Low expected capital costs. Once again, the fact that we don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to processing, I think is important and kind of puts us ahead of the game in a number of cases. The long-term optionality, as where the uranium price is today, obviously the lower cost opportunities in Wyoming make the most sense, but certainly as the price does ramp up, we're optimistic. We should look to get our blue sky opportunity on the conventional side up and running in Utah with our Shooting Canyon mill. And then finally, we have over 100 years of experience on our board when it comes to uranium. It's a sector where it seems like many people, once they're in, they don't tend to leave. So it's been a boon for us. So we're happy to have that experience on our board, and the board has experience, starting from environmental and regulatory, sales and marketing, and even corporate issuer experience. So it's a good mix of people. If you look at just the hexagons, we've got 25 ISR properties in Wyoming, of which our flagship property is the Charlie project, which sits in between 2 of Uranium One's existing mines. So it's in a great spot. It's right next to Uranium One's Willow Creek operations, the processing plant I just mentioned. We have an agreement with Uranium One through which we can process 500,000 pounds per year of uranium through Willow Creek. We have a PEA coming out expected by the end of this month or early next month related to Charlie. And then we have the blue sky assets, the Shooting Canyon mill, one of only 3 licensed, permitted, and constructed mills in the U.S., conventional mills in the U.S., with production capacity of roughly 1 million pounds per year. Our strategy, as mentioned, near-term strategy is to focus on Wyoming and ISR. Charlie will be at the forefront of our production opportunity there. We do have other Wyoming assets that we look to create a pipeline which could follow on when it comes to production after Charlie has been depleted. In longer term, we're looking at the opportunity in Utah and Colorado. We just recently acquired the West Slope properties from your Cotter Corporation, which consists of about 11 million pounds of uranium and 53 million pounds of vanadium, which would obviously lengthen the life term of our Shooting Canyon mill. We have about 7 million pounds of material that we've acquired from Uranium One on the conventional side. So when you combine these 2 opportunities, we think that we've got a very good portfolio of assets that could lead us into production once the uranium price decides to cooperate with us. So the potential near-term catalyst, Philip obviously talked about this. in the last presentation, we think we're well positioned to benefit from any positive outcome related to the 232 position. Utilities are not contracting today. Utilities would love to contract today at $25 and $26, but it just doesn't make any sense for any producers to sign a contract at that price. But certainly, our view is that if 232 does come to fruition, there probably will be a different price for U.S. material versus kind of the general contracting price worldwide. And I think under those circumstances, utilities are quite interested in signing contracts once 232 has been decided. We think that the contracts will be signed with parties who have a path to production. So, given that we do have opportunities to produce both in Wyoming and in Utah, we think that we're one of the handful of companies that could benefit from a positive 232 decision in the U.S. Just a little bit of information about our company. You can see we trade on 3 exchanges: the Venture, the QB, and the Frankfurt Bourse. We have about 75 million shares outstanding. We've just finished a raise just under $4 million, and we do have some research coverage courtesy of Red Cloud. Thank you very much, guys. So the story is starting to get recognized a little bit more, but we're not a very well-known story, but we are looking to punch above our weight given the transactions we've been able to close over the past few years. As mentioned, management directors, a lot of gray hair here, not mine, but our directors, as I mentioned, we've had directors anywhere from 40 years of experience to 20 years of experience. So it all adds up, and it's very significant when we're trying to deal with the regulators and other parties in the U.S. trying to move these assets forward. It's not an easy sector, as I'm sure you understand, but having a strong board with this type of experience has helped facilitate a lot of the transactions we've managed to close. Our steps to uranium production, kind of an 18 to 24 month target, based obviously on where the uranium price is at the time. We'd be focused on Charlie and looking to leverage our resin processing agreement with Uranium One in order to facilitate production there in the near term. Moving forward, 24 to 36 months, we'd be looking to create a pipeline of projects out of the remaining 24 ISR projects we have in Wyoming in order to, once again, leverage our relationship, the resin processing agreement with Uranium One. Once again, this means that we're not having to build our own facility, and we don't need to license our own facility, which means that we're saving both time and money in that regard. And finally, step 3, assume the uranium price is moving up as we're moving up this chart. We'd look to turn on the conventional mill. As I mentioned, there are only 3 conventional uranium mills in the U.S. right now, which are licensed, permitted, constructed. The refurbishment cost of that mill is anywhere between $25 and $35 million, but certainly that's a lot cheaper than trying to build a new facility, and probably about a 2-year time frame in order to get that done. There's about 1 million pounds per year of production capacity. So combining the capacity we have through our agreement with Uranium One and the capacity that we have shooting at 1.5 million pounds per year would be a relatively significant player in the U.S. So here's a small map of our key assets, courtesy of Red Cloud. You can see that we recently closed a small transaction up in Saskatchewan. That is one that we're opportunistic in our company. We look at what makes sense. If there's something of value, we'll take a good look at it. And we thought we'd just take a small position up in Saskatchewan. Obviously, it's a very prolific region. But you can see that we're in the 4 corners of the U.S. when it comes to our asset base, and at the center of it all, essentially, is the Shooting Canyon Mill, which you'll be able to see on a map a little bit more clearer as we move forward here. As I mentioned, the Charlie project, we acquired this. Actually, the date should be December 2018 from Cotter Corporation. It's once again, it sits in between of Uranium One's existing mines. You can see from that map that there are a number of projects in the area, so it's clearly a prolific area when it comes to uranium production and interest. We have the toll milling agreement in place with Uranium, which allows us to move forward on that. We have about, looks like just over 4 million pounds of material that we could potentially extract from this project. Given, if we're able to extract 90% of that, that's, we're looking at, kind of a 6 to 7 year mine life for the asset. I think that once the PEA is out, we'll have a better understanding of the economics. Clearly Uranium One has an understanding of the economics because it has 2 mines on either side of this property. So we're very confident when it comes to moving forward with this project. And once again, we'll have fixed costs in place with Uranium One when it comes to the processing agreement. So we're not at risk of seeing numbers kind of get out of control when it comes to moving forward to production. These are other Wyoming projects. You can see them all over the state. In the upper area where we look at Reno Creek Niles Ranch, in and around that area is where Uranium One's processing facilities are. Obviously, as we move further south and west, there are other opportunities for us to either joint venture with other producers in the state or look to go it alone. But certainly, our focus right now is kind of on the northern quadrant, northeast quadrant of the state. And you can see the resource, the corresponding resource to the side. The Velvetwood project is our flagship hard rock project in Utah. We brought this from Uranium One back in 2015 as part of the Shooting Canyon transaction. In the past, it produced about 4 million pounds of uranium and 5 million pounds of vanadium. It's a relatively high-grade deposit when it comes to U.S. deposits, obviously not Saskatchewan grade, but the idea here is to pair this with Shearing as one of the first mines to go into production once the uranium prices move in our favor. You can see that we have about just under 5 million pounds, or just over 5 million pounds of material available to us. And these are the other assets we have in Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. As I mentioned, the Shooting Canyon Mill. You can see the red dot, and it's surrounded by the other assets that we've acquired. West Slope is the most recent acquisition we made, as I mentioned, 11 million pounds of uranium and 53 million pounds of vanadium. All said, we're roughly 18 to 19 million pounds of hard rock material, which could potentially go through the Shooting Canyon Mill, which obviously would create a nice production hub for us. And you can see there are a couple of other companies with assets in the area which could potentially serve as toll milling partners as we move forward here. So. And finally, just peer comparison. We're looking at we trade well below the average of the group. Once again, I'm sure every CEO will say that it's not justified, but certainly we feel that it's not justified. Our hope is that as we are better known and better understood, we'll move closer to the average or certainly higher than where we sit today. But, I think that we've been able to create a relatively strong portfolio of assets, both on the ISR side and on the conventional side. I think we've taken significant steps to move forward to get towards production in a cheap manner. As I mentioned, the Charlie project, leveraging the resin processing agreement gives us a fixed cost to get into production. The cost to actually start up production with wellfield development is somewhere between $5 and $10 million. We have the opportunity to essentially create a pipeline or build a pipeline into the trunk line that's already existing in close proximity to our property, at $1 to $2 million, which means that we can get into production, for anywhere between $6 and $12 million and create 500,000 pounds per year of production at a fixed cost. So I think Charlie is such a significant part of our portfolio and near-term opportunity. I think that it's important to emphasize that in the near term. But just in summary, as I mentioned, we're focused near-term Wyoming because we see a significant pipeline of opportunities there, starting with Charlie. Obviously, the uranium price moving in the right direction, high enough to make it viable for Shearing to be turned on. I think that will also give us another advantage. There are only 3 conventional mills. Obviously, Rio Tinto owns one, and Energy Fuels owns one. The only operating one today is the Energy Fuels one. So I think to be in the same type of position would be significant for Anfield. And then finally, we think that the supply and demand imbalance, is pretty significant today. I know UXC has it has its view on where the market sits today, but the utilities are they ready to sign? Obviously, they'd be happy to sign at lower cost, but I think that once 232 does come about, and assuming things go well, I think there'll probably be a pretty strong demand when it comes to U.S. players, and there are only a handful of U.S. players who could probably produce in the next 2 to 3 years in order to facilitate some kind of supply. So, that said, that's our story, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Questions for Corey?
I'm just curious how often your phone rings for opportunities for land.
For land?
Yeah.
To acquire land?
Yeah.
Probably every day. There's always somebody looking to sell land, properties in the U.S. and elsewhere. We've gotten calls about Slovenia and other places too. But certainly, I think once we were regarded as someone who looked to acquire assets, I think that that's kind of spurred a lot of interest in showing us new projects. So we do see a fair number.
Is there sort of metrics that you can share? Or?
Well, look, I think in general, right now, given the catalysts that are available to us in the uranium space, I think that the U.S. is kind of the place where we'd want to be. That's the first thing. The second thing is, where are we going to be able to get into production, at the cheapest cost in the near term? And I think that once again, that probably leans towards a place like Wyoming because it's ISR related, or Texas potentially. But Wyoming for us, because we've got this agreement in place with Uranium One, means that we are well set up for just producing there, as opposed to looking to create, a new facility or build a new facility and dealing with licensing, permitting costs, etc. NIMBYism. We don't want to be in that place. So for us, our near-term focus is Wyoming. But certainly, if there's something extremely compelling, we might look at it. But I think, right now we're focused mainly in the U.S. So.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Yvonne, any questions?
How the kids?
Kids are great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Corey.
Thank you.